Hello and good afternoon. I'm actually starting my painting a bit later in the day today than normal. Hopefully today finds you very well and you're doing wonderfully. And hopefully, maybe you've been able to get some artwork done today. This is going to be the first that I can get some artwork done today. I'm going to continue on this painting that you see here as long as my big head doesn't get in the way, because I'm looking for my brushes, the brushes that I want to use. And I figured, well, I wanted to start out this video with a very halting speech. Now, that's not intentional because I'm thinking as I'm talking at the same time. So I tend to have kind of like a very slow way of speaking, big pauses in between. So bear with me. Please bear with me on that. But I wanted to start out today. I had this idea of imparting to you the most important things in art, like painting in particular, but this could be used with all creative habits. You know, what are the most important things? And I'm thinking about this as I touch the mic, sorry. I'm thinking about this because my portrait and oil class that I do every Thursday, I asked the students, I said, what do you think is the most important thing in art making? What do you think the most important thing is? And I got some really good responses. One response was, you know, your interest in the subject, how important things are to you. And I was like, oh, well, that's actually really important. That's good. That's very important. The other responses were like materials, technique, style, subject matter, which is very similar to, you know, liking the subject matter, but, you know, maybe a bit separated in a way. But what I feel, and I think I'm right on this because I've built the last 13 years of art on top of this, and it served me really, really well. What I feel are the most important things in art are the following. And I'm going to try and put them in order of importance, okay? Now bear with me, I don't have this written down. This is not something that I came up with beforehand. It's something I've been thinking about for a while. And while I'm painting, I'm going to bring it up to you. So good luck, Chris, talking about this and painting at the same time. You know, this is part of training for myself as well. The number one most important thing in art is doing it. And you're like, oh God. Wow, that's what you're coming up with, Chris? The big duh? Duh, of course, doing it. But I think a lot of us take that simple idea for granted, like actually doing the work, actually showing up on a regular basis and doing the work. That is the most important thing. There's a lot that goes into that. It isn't just, okay, just show up and do the work. You know, a lot of people that don't do art, a lot of people that, you know, have the 9-to-5 jobs, right? Maybe your parents, maybe people that just don't understand. They're just like, I don't get it. Just go paint. Paint for 8 hours a day every day. You know, I go to my job 8 hours a day every day. Why can't you paint 8 hours a day every day? It's very different. It is very different. It's mentally taxing. A lot of times it's physically taxing, depending on what you're doing. And you can't have this like continual effort to it. I mean, that's where burnout happens, right? So it gets complex. It's more complex than just showing up and doing it, than just showing up and taking care of it, right? There's motivation, there's drive, there's the I don't feel like it, there's the it's not as important to me as everything else, and so I don't make time for it ideas. all of these things for the past 13 years I've run up against, I've combated, because I've been doing art every single day for the past 13 years, and I think I'm around 4,510 days in a row. I've done maybe 3 or 4 makeup days in that entire time where something happened, couldn't make my artwork that day, and so I did 2 art sessions the day afterwards, with the caveat that there's a minimum. My minimum is 30 minutes. Yours could be smaller, yours could be greater, whatever you can get to. But what stands as the most important for me, and I think what should stand for the most important is you, because it makes sense, is doing the artwork, because that's where everything begins. You can think about it all day long, but unless you sit down and actually get to work and get a painting done, nothing can grow unless that happens, unless the creative act actually happens. So the creative act itself is the most important. From there, everything else derives, such as materials, love of subject, what to paint, how to paint it, the skills with drawing and painting, you know, everything that goes into that. So that's number 1 for me. I wonder if you agree upon that. Yeah, let me know if you agree on that. Now, number 2, I would say, as most important for art in general, is not materials. Definitely not materials. Materials are important, but they're pretty far down the list, honestly. It's not how interested you are in your subject matter, although that's really important. And I'm thinking here, what is number 2? And you're like, wow, Chris, you should have probably wrote this down. And I'm thinking the same thing. Maybe I should have wrote this down. Maybe had this figured out beforehand. I would, you know, honestly, this is going to come out of left field. This is going to be weird, okay? And you're going to be like, really? That's number 2? That's number 2. Number 2 is your space for me. Having a space for your art, and if you are a landscape painter or someone that goes outdoors to paint or in public to paint, you know, doesn't have a studio, doesn't need a studio, fantastic. Your space is well, it's the outdoors, right? But when I say space, it's not just, oh, okay, do you have a drawing board like mine set up? Do you have an easel that is pretty nice and can hold a painting or hold any size painting or whatever? Now, when I'm talking about space, it's not in this aspect of materials, of like what type of materials you have, but the aspect of having this sacred space that is always ready for you, that is always sitting there at a moment's notice for you to be able to, even, you know, in passing, you walk by and you're able to jump into a painting real quick, mix up a color and throw it down, and then go on with your day. Like having a space where you can jump in and out of a painting or start a painting with almost zero setup is super important. Why do I say that's number 2? Because that serves number 1, getting to the work, doing the work. And if you don't have a dedicated space, if you don't have like a dedicated easel, if you don't have a time, maybe, and we can even say time frame, like that could be included within this. If you're a landscape painter and you don't set on your schedule, I'm going to go, I have free time this day and this day and this day at these times, the life will take up that time, that schedule. Like, you did not block it off on the calendar. So you forgot and you put something else in its place, right? That's what I mean by space. Like, space also in, physical space, but also setting up that time for you, the mental time, I guess, mental space for you to say, okay, this is when I have creative time, because it serves your number one of actually getting to it. And then there's a bunch more that can go into that, having material set up all the time. When you're done with a painting session, cleaning your brushes, cleaning off your palette so it's ready for the next day, doing these kind of things, or setting up your space so that those things are easy. I was talking with a potter the other day, and they were hoping that their pots did not sell, so they didn't have to make any new ones. And they were like, oh my gosh, it's just, I got so much going on. It's kind of a pain in the butt because it takes so much time. And I don't know pottery. It could be like this for all pottery, right? It could be like this for all pottery, where you have to have at least 5 hours, because 2.5 hours is setup time, and 2.5 hour, or like an hour setup time and an hour cleanup time, or whatever. Like, you have this tremendous kind of entry just into beginning the creation process. And that's difficult. Like, how can you create a daily habit on that with the rest of life going on if it takes that much time? So I think there is possibilities with that, and I think for everybody, because maybe you're saying right now, there's no way I can get to an oil painting in less than 1 hour or even 30 minutes for setup time. And especially for oil painting, I would challenge you on that tremendously, because it is so easy to keep materials out. You can even keep paint on the palette, and it stays there just wet and ready to go for a week or more. And you'll be just fine with it. I do that all the time. But having the forethought to have everything ready, I think is number two. It's really important, having it ready so you can jump into it at any point in time, because we have busy lives now. And and it doesn't have to be painting. I think this would be my number three, because it also serves number one. Number three is letting go of all of what you think needs to happen as an artist. There's so many artists that feel like it's not worth it unless I spend 2 hours or 6 hours or 8 hours painting. And I know artists like this. It's not worth it unless I have this perfect setup. It's not worth it unless I'm really working on a painting for 3 hours straight. And I've heard so many people say it over and over and over again. I can't really get into a painting until, maybe the first hour and a half. Then I'm really into it. Then things are actually going. What's happening the first, hour and 20 minutes? I can see having kind of a ramp up, going, oh, okay, kind of getting the groove. But with consistent training, consistently showing up every day, that time frame goes to zero. You could jump into a painting at any point in time. You look at it, you're like walking by it, you go, oh, it really needs this color, it really needs that value. Mix, mix, bam. Okay, perfect. When later in the day, I'll come back and I'll work on that more. But I just needed that note there as a reminder, right? Letting go of not only that, like this preamble that many artists feel like that they need, but letting go of this idea that it's not worth it unless in one whole session I finish a painting. Like that's just, I mean, that's hard to do a lot of times, especially for me, a daily artist. You know, these smaller paintings take us, some of them 2 to 3 days or more. 5 days. Ugh. And I can agree, you know, working, well, I feel like working that long in a painting is a bit too long for me, but that's more subjective. Actually, maybe everything I'm saying here is subjective, and I'd like to get your input on it. But letting go of this necessity of what you need to achieve, this like perfectionism almost idea of what you need to achieve, I think is really, really important. What's holding you back? Because that's where it's like you're getting in your own way. Well, I can't start this because I'm waiting on that. I'm not good enough in this aspect, so I'm working on, you know, this other thing so I can get to what I really want to do. No, start now. Let it teach you. Don't let your head get in the way of starting, of beginning. Don't let perfection get in the way of that, or this, what you feel like is a need to be an artist that paints a certain way, that has to spend at least 2 hours at the easel mixing up 50 colors like Daniel Green does before he even starts on a painting, and then probably touches a third of what's on the palette. I mean, fantastic artist, but my goodness, what a waste of paint and a waste of time. Just go for it. You know, is your process so involved that it's like tremendously difficult for you to even get started? Why do you feel like you have to have this super involved process in order to make artwork? And if you do, maybe you work on multiple paintings at a time. Maybe the involved process can be broken up. Finding the ways to get to the work. Letting go of things so you can get to the work. Faster and easier. That would be my number 3. And these all serve number 1, which is doing the work. Doing the work, number 1. What's next after that? As I think about it. Honestly, I'm nowhere near materials. Materials could be close to the bottom of the list. Like everything comes before materials. I remember watching a video once from New Masters Academy, and there was an artist on there that was making the same argument of, you know, so many of us, and I've done it a million times before, we'll buy the materials, they'll sit in a box. We felt that we needed those materials just to even get started or to be good. We'll work with those materials finally. We get frustrated because the artists that we saw using those materials use them so well because they've been using them for decades. And we're frustrated because we cannot reproduce exactly what they've done with those materials. I can't tell you how many times I've done that, like multiple times over this past, well, forever in my career as an artist. Like, materials are completely unnecessary. And this artist on New Masters Academy, he said, you know what? Here's newsprint, the cheapest thing you can buy to draw on, right? And here's a candy bar. And he drew this amazing figure with a candy bar. Like, I couldn't draw that figure. And he did it with a candy bar. Like, I think he took a bite out of it afterwards. So it was one of those kind of aha moments for me, like, you know, I don't need materials. What it takes is picking something that you think will work well for you. Like, you know, I think this will work well. Let me try it. I need to get into the seat and do, you know, a bunch of paintings, a bunch of drawings with it, and then see if it works. And then I can have an informed decision. One of the things I really, really liked there, my wife was reading about, we do a lot of things on personal development, motivation, things like this, you know, exercising, working out, all that kind of stuff. And she read about a person that wanted to begin running, right? And she wanted to make this exercise a regular thing because, you know, it's hard. We get older, we don't like the bodies that we're in, and we're like, you know what? I've neglected this, I need to work out more. I am right there with you all the time. I have not exercised very much the past week because I've been so busy. But she wanted to build this habit. And normally, what she would do on any kind of habit like this, like going into yoga, first thing she would do is she would go out and buy all these expensive shoes and mats and hats and shirts and pants. And I mean, you know, the industry out there will sell you thousands of dollars of materials before you've even done it. And they'll be happy to do it. And it feels good. It feels like, you know, within an instant, you're on your way. You're actually doing yoga, but in fact, you're not. And so she would buy all these things and then get into the class and then go, this sucks, I don't like it. And then here she is out of all this material, all this money for buying all this stuff, and she's not doing yoga. So what she did instead to establish her running habit, she's like, you know what? I have shirts, I have pants, I have tennis shoes, I don't need a new pair. I would like to get a new pair. I think a new pair would be helpful. But here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start small, and I'm gonna start running right now, jogging. Start small, start slow, right? Make it super easy. And I'm gonna get out the door, and every time I do that, every time I get out the door, this is what she's saying, and I actually go for a run, I'm gonna put X amount of dollars in this jar. And when I've built up enough money to buy these new shoes and these pants that I want, or whatever she was buying, then I'll buy them. And she made the contribution, the daily contribution, small enough to this jar that she would have to run for, or at least create the habit for, I think, a couple weeks to a month, one of those two. You know, and it didn't have to be every day or whatever. A couple weeks to a month. That way, she's building towards something. Not only is she building the habit up, but she's also building up the money, setting that aside as a goal to buy what she wants. And that's absolutely perfect. Why is it perfect? Because after the 30 days, when she ran, no matter how long, you know, whatever she set, 5-10 minutes of a run, she rewarded herself by buying what she wanted. And it reinforced her, this is the important part, it reinforced her to continue doing the habit. Buying it all at the beginning, buying all your art supplies at the very beginning does not make you an artist. even working your butt off for a few months with those brand new materials does not make you the artist you want to be, right? It does make you an artist, because what you do repeatedly is who you are. So my point is, don't buy all the materials up front. Just wait, okay? Buy inexpensive materials. And if you're like, you know what, I want to get into oil painting, but I know my drawing isn't where it needs to be. I'd like to get, work on drawing first. Fine, totally. I would rather you go buy cheap, very cheap oil painting materials and then just get started on what you really want to do, and then also draw to support, what you really want to do as well. I think that's really good. But let's say that you want to do drawing first. Well, this is a perfect opportunity to set up a daily habit. Every day that I draw, I'm going to put, $3 into a jar, $5 into a jar, because I know what materials I'm going to buy. I'm going to buy M-gram paints, right? And I'm going to buy the Zorn palette, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 colors, okay? And then I'm going to buy some inexpensive brushes, and I'm going to buy a palette, a glass palette, a few canvases, some paper towels, and what else? I don't know. A jar for cleaning up your paints, your brushes, whatever. And maybe an easel. Okay, so it's getting kind of expensive because you don't have all of that at the beginning, so it's getting a bit expensive, right? But you're like, you know what? What's most important is the habit, building that habit first. So I'm gonna save up every time I do it, and then after 30 days, I'll have that money saved up, and I will reward myself by buying all those materials and start oil painting. So you're already in the habit mode. You're already doing it. You're already an artist at that point. You're building that so important habit. You're getting to the painting, the drawing, the artistry, the creation process first. Number 1, do it. So materials I would put pretty far down there. Now, the other item on the list that I'm going to say is probably one of the most important things that I came across just recently, honestly. And it's something I never thought I would say was really important. Because I'm self-taught. For the past 13 years, 99% of all of the work I've done and learning I've done has been from online courses, videos on YouTube, trying things out mostly, trial and error, just doing it, showing up every single day and making mistakes, learning and then looking at those mistakes, seeing how to correct them, and then making an effort to correct those mistakes. That's tremendous. Learning to look at your mistakes as positive things to correct. I don't want to get sidetracked. But that's the majority of my entire last 13 years, just doing that. And it's how I've gotten to the skill that I have right now, for the most part. But then I had this great idea last year, 2024. I went on to smarterartschool.com. They do mentorships, and they have a mentorship with Greg Manchess. Greg Manchess. Manchess. phenomenal illustrator, Illustrator Hall of Fame. Actually, he was inducted into the Illustrators Hall of Fame while I was doing the mentorship. Really awesome guy. And I was able to get feedback, direct feedback. And I'm not even trying to be an illustrator, right? It's just, me painting my weird stuff. And, a lot of the time he's like, oh, Chris, what are you doing? Because he's used to doing illustrations for books and things like that, like all kinds of great stories of the past and present, right? In that kind of hemisphere, not like portraits of your wife in a very painterly fashion. He's not used to seeing a lot of that. But I digress. So I took this mentorship and I really worked my butt off on it. Because here I was, it was $2,500 for 14 weeks. And we met once a week. Almost every week. Holidays happened, and so we had some in between. And it worked out to be about $200 per meeting. And I had, on average, about 10 to 15 minutes of time with Greg specifically for him to comment on my work. Like to actually look at my paintings and comment on it. And you're like, wow, that's really expensive. No, cheap, so cheap. World-renowned illustrator actually giving you responses on your work was probably one of the best things I've ever done to improve as an artist. I improved so much within those few weeks. Now, I'm not saying this because I'm being conceited in some way. The only reason why I'm saying this is because other artists that saw the change in my artwork has said this directly to me. And they're like, oh my gosh, you've improved so fast in such a short amount of time through this mentorship. And I felt like, oh my gosh, this was super important. I've been neglecting this so much through this past 13 years. I haven't done anything like this. I've avoided it because it's been quote unquote expensive. I wish there was inexpensive opportunities out there, which I'm actually in another mentorship right now with Nicholas Uribe, because the responses from the artists that are just better than I am in so many ways can really just change the entirety of your outlook on art and just send you in a direction you never would have thought of, that makes or creates a pathway for the evolvement of your artwork to a point where it's exponential. Just tremendously important. And I would put that really far up there, like number 4, as the importance in art. Having someone, someone that's better than you in whatever way, someone in your field would be great, or the field that you want to go into, that can give you direct feedback in person, well, not in person, but even online, but looking at your artwork and give you direct feedback. I think that's so important. And now, a bit of a caveat on this one, as I'm talking so much as I'm painting. Hopefully, maybe you're listening. And if not, if you've tuned out, totally cool. Maybe you got me on mute and you just want to watch the painting progress. That's fine. But another thing that related to this, and I hesitate to bring this up because I really, it's one of those things for artists, it's almost sacrilege to promote yourself and what you're doing. So I'm going to promote myself here. I'm going to promote what I do, or what I'm trying to do. And the only reason why I'm doing this is because, I started up teaching And it really opened my eyes to like a lot of things that I've learned that I've taken for granted. And after helping other artists and seeing how much I've been able to help them and hearing them say, wow, this has been super, super, super helpful. I felt like I want to share this and I want to help more people. So what I did recently on my website is I added a mentorship. And yeah, I'm totally going to promote that mentorship right now. So if you want to fast forward, it's okay. You don't have to listen to the spiel. But it's not really much of a spiel. I don't know. I'm not a salesman. I have no idea how to sell things. This could be absolutely awful. The whole pitch of it. But the one thing is I wanted to keep it inexpensive, very inexpensive, because I'm not a well-known artist. Not millions of people know me. I haven't done like a tremendous, like some kind of tremendous amount of work. I haven't been in huge galleries, blah, blah, blah. But I know that I have something to teach, and I know I can help people. And the one thing that I know that I'm really good at, probably better than almost anybody on the planet, is showing up every single day and doing the work every single day. And being able to help people find their own way to do that, to show up every single day, which I think is, like I said, the most important. And that, and also the materials, the techniques, the skills, where you're at, what you need to work on, giving critical review on another person's artwork, being able to motivate as well as point out things that a person needs to work on. And I think that I'm really good at that. So on my website, I created a mentorship. And if you're interested, there's where you can sign up for a 30-minute call. Well, we'll have a call together, and you can see we'll see if this is right for you, And I will say, if you're a very young individual, let's say you're 13 to 16 years old, and you're watching this video and you're like, man, I really want to paint like Chris. I'd like to do this mentorship thing. I think at your age, at that age, the most important thing for you to do is find what you're interested in and just draw your butt off all the time, as much as you can. Find a way to love drawing. At that age, I don't feel comfortable mentoring someone that young yet. I think you'd have to have some time and effort under your belt, some discipline before I do the mentorship. So I could be totally wrong. Prove me wrong. Set up a mentorship. And the mentorship itself, if you decide to go into it, is only $100 a month for 2 meetings a month, which I think, $50 a meeting is for an hour of my time each time is very inexpensive. So if that's something you're interested in, please go to my website, click on the mentorship at the top or in the navigation, and sign up for a free booking. Like a consultation. We'll see if it works out for you. Or heck, you can sign up and we can chat about your artwork. That kind of thing. Hopefully I get too many people doing that. That would be interesting. Oh yeah, I just want to talk with Chris for a half an hour. Oh, that would be kind of fun. Because I could talk your head off, let me tell you. I could talk your head off. And then you would never call me again. You'd be like, oh my goodness. That Chris guy, man, he's just talking about art stuff all the time. So, I mean, as far as like top 4 and 5 items for the most important things I feel in art, you know, there you go. Number 1 is doing it, actually getting to the work. And like I said, that entails a bunch of things. Making the time, finding the motivation. And when the motivation doesn't exist, being able to work without the motivation. Setting up your space is number 2, so that you don't have to have a ton of motivation to get started. Setting up your materials so it doesn't take much time to get started. Number 3 is letting go of all these things that you think an artist needs to be or needs to have, such as, you know, 10 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours in the studio has to happen in order for you to make anything worthwhile. No, you can progress tremendously with just 30 minutes a day. Look at my artwork and my website. That's all I've kind of worked under, is 30 minutes a day for 13 years straight. Of course, I've done days a lot longer than that. Like yesterday, I did about 5 hours of painting. It was 2 different painting sessions. I painted here on this painting, worked yesterday, and then afterwards I have a life drawing that I've set up, and I did life drawing with a model. No one else showed up, it was just me and the model. It was a lot of fun. We had a good time. So it ended up in like 5 hours of painting yesterday, and that was great. That was great. Lots of art time. Although I got to bed real late because life drawing is very late for me. Well, which was difficult. I'll be very tired tonight. My sleep is super important. Ooh, yeah, I'm going to bring that up. So 1 is getting to it. Number 2, setting up space. Number 3, letting go of, you know, preconceptions, material necessities, things like that. What was number 4? I can't remember what number 4 was. And I can't remember what I was going to say was like another really important thing to add in. Oh, geez. You know, this is one reason why I paint. And then I paint quietly sitting here, and then I do a time lapse for it, and then I talk before or after. That's one reason why I do that. It's because it takes up all of my concentration, or a lot of my concentration, to do this. I'm trying to get better at it because I want to be able to paint in workshops and talk to people lucidly while I'm painting, especially for the artists, for the students that I have for my portrait and oil class. I want to be able to speak to them while I'm painting on their canvas in a very lucid way, a very understanding way, and describe what I'm doing as well. I think that's important. So that's another reason why I'm doing this. Multitasking. But sorry for a lot of my rambling and halting speech because of that. I'll get better. Yeah, don't wait to get good to get started. I definitely haven't done that with, YouTube videos. I'm not waiting to get good. I'm not this amazing YouTube production person. I'm an artist first. I'm not creating, binge-worthy videos. I'm just doing what I can here to share what I think is really important to the world. Yeah. So I hope that's helpful to you, setting some of these things up as important in art, in kind of a hierarchy for you to think about while you're trying to, build this habit, or maybe you've already built an art habit for yourself. But thinking about these things, or maybe you haven't thought about this, like what is most important, and take what I've said and really think about it. Don't just take what I say and think it's, the end all be all. Like don't think it is, can be minted in gold or whatever, and it is the truth. Have your own opinion on it. Please share it in the comments too. What do you think is most important? I may agree with you, change my mind on things. That would be great. Let's improve together. That's one thing that is really important. And I think I was going to say before, letting go of, how can I say this? I want to say it, but be kind of nice about it, or try and be as nice about it as I can, because we all do this. We all beat ourselves up, okay? And it's all about the results. We focus so much on the results rather than the progress that it's hard to keep going. It's a really good way of destroying motivation, by constantly thinking about results and putting all of your, let's say, eggs in this basket of results. Like you're thinking, if I don't make a good painting, I'm not a good artist. And I mean, there's nothing further from the truth, right? Making a bad painting just makes you an artist and a working artist as it is. Learn to love those bad paintings, the ones you abandon. I have so many. Like, you can go onto my website and go to the daily art blog, and you'll see so many paintings that I have done or started on and that I've abandoned. And yeah, they're frustrating. I'm not going to say don't get frustrated with it, because I'm frustrated with it. I mean, I would love to be able to make an amazing painting every single time I sit down, but that's just not the case. It doesn't work that way. Some days you're on the struggle bus and you're crashing through Struggleville and you're like hitting every struggle sign there is. And yeah, that's like what it is. And I wish I could say the better I get, the less paintings I struggle with. But yeah, I guess maybe I struggle with less paintings. I feel like the struggle is always there. It's just that the results are sometimes better. Like your worst gets better and your better gets better, but it's still a struggle almost every single time. I mean, you're like, oh, how do I do this thing? How do I do that thing? And of course, I challenge myself a lot with all these paintings. And that's where we learn from. So be comfortable with the struggle, number one on that. Learn to love it. Learn to enjoy, that you're struggling, that you're running into something that's difficult, because it's an indicator that you're moving out of your comfort zone and you're in a position to learn a lot. And then embrace the Sherlock Holmes within yourself and ask why. Like, really look into, all right, why did that painting fail? Why is this terrible? What happened here? Why didn't I like it? Why did I stop on it? Why did it fail? And then point it out and go, oh, maybe it's, 90% of the time it's drawing, right? Oh, I can see, after analyzing this head, I notice now that the brow line, eye line, nose line, mouth line, and chin line, which are always on the same plane, they're always going the same direction in perspective, I noticed that those are off. Like the brow and the eye line is good, but the nose, mouth, and chin are at a different angle. And then you think, okay, next painting that I do of a portrait, I'm gonna try and get that just right on, really pay attention to it. And that's where the progress happens, where you embrace the mistakes and then learn from them. But you can only learn from them once you actually recognize them, face them, and then define, how you screwed up in some way and try and get better. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start fast forwarding through the rest of this painting. So far I've been talking to you for about 50 minutes, 51 minutes, I'm sorry. I'm going to fast forward through the rest of this, and I probably will not come in at the end. I'm going to try and get through as much of this painting as I can. Probably another hour on this, and I should be able to finish it. And maybe I'll come in at the end. If not, I will see you on the next video. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you so much for watching. Okay, well, I'm back again. Sorry about that. But there's a couple things on here that I definitely wanted to talk about, and you know how I am, I'd like to talk a bunch. So what was interesting is the mixture in the background here, which is mostly Payne's Gray and Burnt Sienna, that had dried already since yesterday. And what you'll notice about oil paint, if you haven't noticed already before, but you'll get some areas of the paint where it's kind of glossy, then other areas kind of sink in and become matte. And it's very, very difficult to see what's going on there because it's glossy matte. It's all over the place, and it's hard to understand what you've put down. I've had a lot of trouble in here. I'm hoping that this video isn't terrible because my head was doing this thing the whole time. You know, it's kind of part of oil painting where you're dodging back and forth, you know, you're doing the head bob thing to figure out or try and get away from the glare and see what it actually looks like. At one point I even turned off one light to see if that was helpful, and sometimes it is because you don't have two different lights coming in one single direction, but then it's very hard for you to see. So yeah, a lot of that was going on. So what I did to combat that, besides bobbing my head back and forth everywhere and get in front of the camera, I added some of my favorite medium to my paint, which is the solvent-free Gamblin gel, and mixed that to some of the paint and was able to kind of go over these sections, especially the background, and smooth that out and understand what was going on there. So don't be afraid to add medium that way. That's also a good way to add medium because it does kind of go along with the whole fat over lean idea. Even though the solvent-free gel is an alkyd medium, it is considered fatty. It should dry pretty darn fast because it has an alkyd resin inside of it. But that should be fine. I've done that so many times before in multiple paintings, and I paint fairly thin enough to where things dry pretty quickly, and on gesso, which soaks in a lot of the oil and helps things dry quickly, it seems like, in a lot of ways. The other thing that I was wanting to talk about on this was, you probably saw me get this guy out. This is my really super high-tech maul stick. This was, I don't know, if you have blinds in your home and certain cheap blinds, you turn the stick and the blinds open and then you turn it the other way and the blinds close. That's what this stick is. I did not buy this. It's just a stick that was left over on blinds on one of the apartments. Like, it wasn't attached to any of the blinds. It was like there, and I was like, okay, cool. And so I just took an old like dish towel and I cut it down, and then I balled it up and put it over the top, and then clear packing tape. There you go. Look, awesome maul stick. It sits up against things, not in the paint. Don't put it in the paint, Chris. Sit it up against things. Put your wrist on it. It gives you this ability to be really exact and not all shaky back here because you're using like your deltoids, and I tend to get shaky like that anyways. Now that's good if you're getting super detailed, but then I was noticing myself, why are you getting so detailed with this, Chris? You're getting so detailed into the parts and specifics. Is that completely necessary? And I guess so. I just really felt like doing it, felt like getting deep into it, of that detail today. And, you know, on the last painting as well, I believe I went into that. Yeah, so that's another thing. Make yourself a cheap maul stick if that's something you want to kind of try out. It's kind of hard to juggle the brush, the maul stick, plus your paper towel to wipe stuff out, but I mean, you find a way and it'll work. But I also noticed that, you know, in a lot of previous paintings, I've been trying to move away from being really exact with with mark making, getting in there and, copying directly from the photo in a lot of cases, that kind of thing I've been getting away from, and challenging myself to think about softer edges, soften things up a lot, especially when it's really necessary. Like this edge here, I want to soften down. And to begin to be comfortable with this kind of broken way of applying paint, where the brush strokes aren't perfectly added in. It's not like this perfect gradation from one value to the next. And it adds a lot more interest to the painting, I feel, in a lot of places. It brings together different parts of the painting into one to reduce emphasis, which I'm going to do right now. So there's this part right up here where the fabric kind of is over the figure, the back of the figure, and I want that to kind of just fade a bit. I don't like the way I did that. Let's do it again. So I'll take some of that background and go into it. So I just wanted to break that edge up, especially on the back of the figure here. I want to break up that edge to kind of send it back. See how sharp this one is here? Like we got the dark against the light. It's just too sharp. And because it's so sharp, it's screaming, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me. So I'm going to get a value of this fabric that I've made up, which is, as you can see, is completely, well, the value is the same, but the color is completely the same. But I get a value that's closer to the background. And I'll do kind of like it's almost like you're looking at an after image. Just break this edge up. Fade that out a bit. Soften it some. We know it's fabric. I mean, I painted it so exact, maybe too exact, that it's, I think everyone can tell that that's fabric. But I don't want that edge to stand out. What's the important parts of this painting, and that's not it. Even the hand up here, I got really detailed with, but I'm something about it just is not working for me. I think what I need to do is just kind of move away from what the image is telling me and do my own thing up here. But the purpose of talking to you about this is because with the last few paintings, I'm trying to move into this more expressive mark making thing, right? And I don't have to do that in every painting. It's another tool that I can use. But on these paintings where I get fairly exact, this painting I've gotten almost too detailed in places, I can bring in some of what I've been doing on the previous paintings and utilize it to help direct the viewer's eye in some places, to show to remove contrast, to add contrast, work with edges a bit different, make it more dynamic in some way, push things back into the background, bring things forward, all this kind of stuff. I did it definitely here, all along this edge. This edge here is really super sharp. Like that's the sharpest edge ever. Let's see if it works if I kind of... just blend that out a little bit. This is so unimportant down here that I changed some values from what I was seeing on the image, just so that all this would fade into the background a bit. It would go away. But I did like the shadow cast from the fabric, this slight indication that this fabric here is touching the ground. you know, touching this surface, and it's casting its own shadow. Kind of grounded it down. And I intentionally have left out this indication of a stool leg, both here and there. Playing, I think it's fun to think, oh, this fabric is made out of metal, and this person is wrapped up in metal, and the whole thing is holding them up. They're not on a stool, it's the fabric that's holding them up. It's almost like that is the leg that's holding up the entirety of the figure. It's kind of fun. And looking for these little opportunities to bring in some expressiveness here, so that there's, you know, there's this part that's catching light. Let's go ahead and blend it in with that other part so it kind of intersects a bit. Right here can be another one. Just kind of fades out a bit. Like, is that what I see in the image? No, not exactly. I mean, but I like those little moments of difference, of change, of painterly expressiveness, just painterly idea. You know, and it's not too hard to bring it back if I feel it, maybe it's too much. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm good on this painting. I think I'm real good. This was a really fun experiment. If you remember from the very beginning, the idea was to create two worlds. One world is the figure in the background. And you know what? I could blend some, let's do finger. Oh, geez, just screwed it up, Chris, my goodness. You know, one world, figure, background, let's move all that together. I mean, I got some glare on there. I have no idea what that looks like. Let me bring some of my brushiness back into that. Gotta mix up that color. Gotta find that color again. Whenever I do a vertical brush stroke, it turns into nothing but glare. So that's a lot of fun to deal with, let me tell you. I can get this brush out and just fade all that back. Yeah, I don't know if that really helped it. It may have hurt the painting. Let's sharpen it up again. But I think, you know, that's kind of the point, is being brave enough to screw up a painting, try something in this way. It isn't like I'm screwing up. You can take these things back, you know, spend the extra time to try something different. And then if it doesn't look right, if you're like, ugh, that didn't work, you know, paint it out, scrape it out, right? And do something different again, like go over it. I mean, really the key is, well, not the key, but, okay, think about what you're going to say before you say it, Chris. I have a center of interest in this painting. It's already established. It's that yellow cloth. I mean, it's almost impossible to look at anything else. It's so friggin' bright and takes up the entirety of this canvas. Okay, it is the otherworldly thing that, I mean, you can't look at anything else. It's just there, right? That's my center of interest. Now, for everything else, once that's established and established well, which I think it is, could be wrong, It's my opinion. Once that's established, everything else just has to not distract from it. Has to not be so awful that people can't look at anything else because of that awful little passage that you put in there. And that's pretty easy to do because it's, you got that area established and you're like, okay, well, you know, everything else looks okay. It's probably not the best painted thing on the planet, but at least it's not pulling away from my focal point. And that's all the rest of it really has to do, is not distract. Not start jumping up and down and saying, hey, look at me, hey, look at me. No, and I think that's doing it. The other thing, you know, like I said, I've had a lot of trouble with glare, but you're seeing, what you're seeing here, and let me check with my glasses because I'm looking at the back of my camera. You're seeing the painting without any glare because the lights I have set up have polarizing gel on them. And then there's a polarizing filter on my camera. And if I turn it, it may change a little bit. Yeah, you can kind of see some changes happening as I turn that filter, right? But I have the lights set up really well where you're not going to get a ton of glare. That's probably right there, the best place to have the filter set. You're not seeing all the glare that I'm seeing. So what I'm doing to really look at this painting and see what I've done is I'll stand up and I'll come back here and I'll look at the screen on the camera and I'll say, oh, okay. Yeah, that's looking pretty good, you know, or no, I need to fix that or change that. Not only does it get rid of all the glare, but it also is a wonderful way of stepping far back from your painting and seeing it from a distance and through digital eyes. It helps you get away from your painting. Okay, this painting is done. Yay, all done. I'm really happy with this one. Looks like I had two pretty good paintings in a row. Something about this fabric I'm having. And sorry about that. The card in my camera just filled up. And so there's a little bit of jump. Yeah, I was talking about, I've had a couple really good paintings in a row. Something about doing the fabric has been a lot of fun. So the painting before this was called Let Go. And it had fabric, and I really love the color that I used in that fabric. And then this one, of course, the color is like crazy. But then something you didn't see yesterday after I worked on this painting was I went to Life Drawing and I had the model bring in some white fabric. So I used fabric for this painting as well. So a lot of fun, man. And it's so much harder to paint from a model, and something we should do more often, as much as we can. Paint from life as much as you can. But utilize photos as well, because we can't, you know, I can't afford a model every single time I want to paint something. If that was the case, I'd basically have a model living with me every day. I have my wife, I'd have to paint my wife every day, and then she wouldn't get anything done. But anyway, I'm rambling now. This video has been tremendously long, and a lot of rambling at the beginning and a lot of rambling at the end. So while I was fixing the card issue because it had filled up and I just came back from that, on my website I created a coupon for 10% off any painting forever. So if you're listening to me right now and you made it to the end of this painting, if you use the coupon code on my website, glowing10, that's the name of this painting, is Glowing, Glowing, and the coupon is glowing10, Glowing10. You'll get 10% off any painting that you purchase on my website. Thank you so much for watching my videos, especially to the end. If you listen to this or if you're here right now, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.